Every human's capable of evil. Don't idolize your favorite creators. We don't know what anybody is really like behind closed doors, and that is really, really scary. But I do firmly believe that our intuition is stronger than we give ourselves credit for. Actions always speak louder than words, and we know who the good people are that deserve love. Like Rich. I'm not good with my words during times like this. I don't need to type some big paragraph when everybody else is beautifully saying what already needs to be said right now.
When I scroll through the comment sections from every video or every post, and even threads, GameBoyLuke is a monster and a backstabber. GameBoyLuke deserves to lose everything. And look, I'm not here to tell you Luke is innocent, because he's not. He admitted that. On his own X account, in his own words, he said what he did was incredibly wrong. He owned it. He posted it publicly. So yes, Luke deserves to answer for what he did. But here's the question nobody is asking. Where is Taylor in all of this? Because Rich, the person who was actually betrayed, didn't just name Luke. He named them both. And somehow, from the moment this blew up, the internet looked at the exact same set of facts and decided that only one of those two people deserves consequences. I want to know why. And by the end of this video, I think you will too. For anyone who needs the full picture, here's how this started. On May 21st, 2026, right away, Rich posted on X, simple, devastating, and clearly written by someone who just had the floor pulled out from under him. He wrote, "Was just told that Taylor cheated on me with Luke on New Year's. We've been broken up since January and I just found out from someone else 5 months later. 5 months. He had been broken up with Taylor since January, quietly processing what he thought was just a normal end to a relationship. And then someone tells him in May that it wasn't just a breakup. While they were still together on New Year's, the woman he was with hooked up with one of his closest collaborators, a guy who had been to his house, a guy who had been in his videos, a guy who had told Rich his house looked sick and said he couldn't wait for New Year's. That was GameBoyLuke in December, texting Rich like a friend, while apparently already developing something with Taylor. The internet saw that and exploded, and honestly, understandably. But here's where I need you to pause with me for a second, because 2 days later, on May 23rd, Rich posted again, and this time he didn't just talk about Luke, he was direct about both of them. This is what he wrote, word for word. GameBoyLuke and Taylor are the two worst human beings I've ever met in my life. Two, both of them. He said it explicitly. He wasn't protecting Taylor, he wasn't giving her a pass. He continued, while I was healing the past 5 months, destroyed, empty, crying, Luke and Taylor have been flirting behind my back. Taylor would intentionally post things on Instagram to get Luke to respond. Read that again. Taylor was intentionally posting things on Instagram to bait a response from Luke, while Rich was, in his own words, destroyed and crying. This wasn't passive. This wasn't Taylor being swept off her feet by some charming guy who pursued her relentlessly. She was an active participant. She was flirting. She was posting things specifically to keep that connection alive. And yet, look at the comment sections. Look at the videos. Count how many people are talking about Taylor's role in any meaningful depth. I'll wait. And then it got worse. On May 24th, Rich revealed something that I think changes the entire shape of this story, and most commentary videos have barely touched it. Taylor visited Luke's house in March 2026, not New Year's, March, months after the cheating, months after the breakup, while Rich and Luke and other creators were all actively recording their 4-way cage lock series together. Rich wrote, Taylor visited Luke while we were all recording our 4-way cage lock series. Luke recorded with us when Taylor was actively in his house. I'm sick to my stomach. Think about the deliberateness of that. This wasn't a moment of weakness on one drunk New Year's night. This was an ongoing connection that both Luke and Taylor chose to maintain and hide simultaneously, while Rich was literally on the other end of a recording session, collaborating with Luke in good faith. Taylor came to that house. Taylor chose to be there, and both of them hid it from Rich while his voice was probably still echoing through Luke's headphones on the recording. That is not a passive story. That is two people making active, repeated choices to deceive someone who trusted them both. Now, Luke, for all his faults here, did something. On May 24th, he posted a statement. He said what he did was incredibly wrong. He said Rich should have been informed immediately. He took ownership. You can debate whether his apology was enough, whether it came too late, whether the wording was careful in ways that protected him. Those are all fair conversations. But he said something. He acknowledged Rich as a person who deserved better. Taylor has said absolutely nothing. Not a post, not a story, not a single word in any public forum to the person she was in a relationship with, who found out through someone else 5 months later that she had cheated on him. And while Luke is losing followers, getting called out in comment sections, and watching his career take real damage, Taylor is living in near total silence, and the internet has largely let her stay there. I want to be very clear about what I am and am not saying. I'm not saying Taylor deserves harassment. I'm not saying she needs to be hunted down online. What I am saying is that accountability shouldn't only exist for the person the internet finds more interesting to attack. Rich named her. Rich said she was one of the 2 worst people he had ever met. Rich told us she was actively choosing to keep this going, and somehow the collective outrage machine decided that only one of those 2 people is worth destroying. I've been cheated on. I know that specific kind of pain. The way it rewrites your memories, makes you question everything you thought was real. And I can tell you from the inside that it does not matter which person in that equation you focus on. The betrayal doesn't come from one direction. There are always 2 people who made those choices. Always. But the internet doesn't work that way. The internet needs a villain with a face. GameBoyLuke has a channel, a face, a following, and a public profile in the creator space. Taylor is a private person. She doesn't have 400,000 subscribers. She doesn't have a monetized channel. She's not someone the algorithm can point people toward. And so the outrage flows in the direction of whoever the internet can most easily reach, not whoever is most responsible. That's not justice. That's just convenience dressed up as accountability. There's also a quieter dynamic at play here that nobody wants to say out loud. In situations like this, there is very often a silent assumption that the person who was stolen away is somehow less culpable, like they were a passive object that Luke acted upon, rather than a person with full agency who made her own decisions. Repeatedly, over months, she visited his house. She posted on Instagram to get his attention. She hid the March visit from Rich. Those are choices. Those belong to her. And she hasn't answered for a single one of them. I think this matters beyond just this drama, because this is a pattern. Every time something like this blows up in the creator space, the internet finds the most visible target and puts all of its energy there. And the less visible person, the one who is equally or sometimes more responsible, quietly walks away. No consequences, no accountability, no statement required. That's not how accountability works in real life. When a friendship is destroyed, when trust is broken, when someone spends 5 months destroyed, empty, crying, it's rarely because of one person. Rich himself understood that. He named them both. He called them both the worst people he'd ever met. He felt betrayed by both of them. Why are we selectively honoring only half of what he said? If you genuinely care about Rich, and it's clear from the comment sections that a lot of you do, then caring about Rich means taking the full picture seriously, not just the part that gives you a satisfying villain to pile onto. I want to be clear one final time. What GameBoyLuke did was wrong. He knows it. He said it. The consequences he's facing are real, and they are a result of real choices he made. This video is not a defense of him. This video is a question about why we only ever hold half of the people in a situation accountable, about why the internet's version of justice almost always has a blind spot, and about whether, when we talk about supporting Rich, we actually mean it, or whether we just mean we enjoy having someone to be angry at. Rich deserves better than a selective pile-on that ignores half of what was done to him. Drop your thoughts in the comments. I want to know what you think. And if you haven't subscribed yet, do it, because this channel is the only place saying the things that everyone else is skipping over.